Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing Mason McCarty. Mason, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
Dude, it is such an honor to have you here. But before we talk about why you're here, Mason, I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit, man. You just had one of the biggest scene-stealing moments in Terrifier 3, and this movie has, as of the time of recording, actually surpassed. It is the highest grossing unrated film of all time. So, what's it feel like? And a lot of people, when they leave the cinema, you're what they're talking about, man. So, what does it feel like
Oh,
to be a part of this project?
man, I mean, you really put it in perspective there, and I think it's been hard to wrangle it. And I think it's been really difficult to be able to fully understand it because it's like everyone dreams of that as an actor or performer or filmmaker. You're just like, oh, that wouldn't that be the day? And then it was just shocking when you're hearing all this great stuff. But man, I knew when the casting process had kind of gone along and Damien had a personal phone call with me about the project. Uh, it really kind of sunk in how special and how fun it was going to be to film and be a part of. And so I cringe at the thought of any doubt in my mind if I wanted to be a part of it because I'm like, man, that was so much fun and it was the greatest filming experience. But what a treat that all this hard work is getting all this accolade, man. And I mean, everyone just seems to be so excited about it. I
Right.
myself as a fan am just over the moon about it. But surreal, really, really surreal experience. So.
See, and that's how I feel because, as fans of indie horror, we're always pushing and championing for indie horror. Damien, David, Lauren, yourself,
Mm,
you guys aren't going to major studios and getting that backing, that funding, that producing, and you
mm,
don't need it because when you have
yeah,
the product that you guys put out, you don't need all that stuff to go along with it. Word of
yeah.
mouth is the best type of advertising now. And
It's
um, the big scene with you. I mean, and I'm going to tell you this right now. One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is I don't want to fuck him. You know, so you guys
yeah,
had moments of levity with your character.
yes.
Your character is one of those guys that is half a douchebag and half a lovable douchebag. So,
Yeah.
what's it like to play that type of
Oh,
juxtaposition to where you know that you're kind of a douche, but you're also the guy that does care about people?
no, you put that so well. I think it was kind of this like unspoken uh idea that I shared with Damien because of course everything is so clear in the script. He's such a good writer. And as you were saying earlier, without like the studio help,
Mhm.
I felt the same way. I feel like this movie is an example of like these are craftsmen and they have put in their 10,000 hours, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're just showing what you can do by doing it yourself. But anyways, this character it was already so much there in the script, but I felt like I read several times and as I was reading with my buddies, I just felt like the easiest way to play it was like be all the douchebag, you know what I mean? But I was kind of like, but wouldn't it be more fun? Because I was starting to understand what his relationship was to Jonathan. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, but wouldn't it be more fun if he was like a big brother a little bit, but still a little rough and tough, but like he's a big brother, and I just think that I can't remember Damien and I talking about it, but I never, whatever that was in the audition process, I never let it go as
Right.
I went to filming. And so a lot of it was just letting um, me come through and just have fun. I was just trying to stay as present as possible and in all these scenes, but I was at the same time just has a little bit of an edge. So it was fun. I mean, I felt like I just kind of got to be playful, and then kind of hone it in whenever I felt like, he needs to be a little stronger, but um or just like, more of a frat guy presence or something. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad people seem to like that because it was fun to play it that way. And then I think I mean, I did not know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but it was great to see the big picture and to see Oh, because Cole's kind of like that. You really see Mia more as this, and you see
Hmm.
Jonathan, and it's just like I realized that finding my identity in the character, finding his Cole's identity, actually helps all of your co-stars that you're in scenes with, and I feel the same way about what they were bringing to me. It's like y'all find your divots, and it's like, oh, isn't that
Yeah.
beautiful? And I was like, at the end of the day, it was all unspoken because Damien was leading the train. He was, the script and direction was that good that we are all just finding it with him. So, oh man, it's great. So I just went on a tangent. I love that stuff.
No, dude, like I love to hear it. So one last question about Terrifier before we get into why you're here. Um, you went through quite the grueling process in a certain scene, which again I'm going to leave spoiler free. I know you've all probably seen it, but for those that haven't, I don't want to spoil it for you. What
Yeah.
was the practical makeup and practical things that you had to do on set that day? What was that like for you?
Oh man, it was. I'm sure just like you, huge horror fan. I love practical effects, but I'd never worked with any before, so it was exciting for me. I went through I'm sure, did you see Maxine? You know the goo
Oh,
process that she goes
oh
under?
yeah.
I had to do that, and I was like, whoa! And that was fun. So I walk out with a whole body cast of me, and then man, when it came down to filming that scene, it was a lot of blocking. It's very meticulous. It's just like this shot needs to see this perfectly. So it was like we need to have the dummy arm placed perfectly here and the leg placed here. But man, it was just fun. And we were getting sticky and blood, and it was a blast. Like it was a practical effects dream. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've got everything there, and they don't hold their punches. So that was fantastic.
And it came out so well. Like I said, whenever we talk about the film, that's one of the scenes that's always getting brought up because yes,
Mm.
the practical effects were there. Yes, David did a great job, but you guys did a great job as well. You could feel your fear not only for yourself but for your partner as well. You know what I mean? And again,
Oh
I'm trying to be as vague as I possibly can here,
no, I hear
but
you. Well,
you know,
God,
it's not just what's happening to me, it's how can I stop what's happening to someone else. So if you
yeah.
guys haven't seen it, you got to check out Terrifier 3. They have an amazing pre-order set right now that comes with a bunch of amazing goodies. So make sure you're
Mhm.
checking that out. So man, in order for you to be part of what could be honestly the most influential horror film of 2024, horror had to start for you somewhere, Mason. So I would like to go back to the past and
Yeah.
talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Mason, the first horror movie you watched was.
I wish it would come to my mind that quickly. I absolutely got to say Jaws. I consider Jaws one of the scariest movies I ever saw as a kid. But Jaws was my gateway film for a lot of things, a lot of horror too. So
Well, and I love that argument of, well, Jaws isn't a horror film. And I'm like, are you high? Because
yeah.
it's absolutely, totally, in all ways is a horror film, man. Like, and the great thing about this movie is whether it's, the statements that are made in the movie, the fear that's made in the movie, the practicality of the movie, it still holds up today, and
Yes. Yes.
it's a movie that I think still has a great message. I think that, hey, it doesn't matter what's happening in the water, just go ahead and go in. I'm sure you'll be
Yeah.
fine. That
Yeah.
still holds up really well today.
Dude.
So, do
Um,
you remember?
oh, continue. Sorry.
No,
Well, I was about to just say like I I agree. Every time that I've heard someone say, it's not that much of a like horror, it's like rewatch it. It's just like all the talking scenes are just masking how horrifying those beach scenes are, and then up everything on the boat. Just it's like The Thing on a boat, but with three
yeah,
guys. So, anyways, it's great.
no, and you're completely right. And that's again, we'll talk about that scene in a little bit. But
Yeah.
do you remember about how old you were when you had seen Jaws for the first time?
I had to be I was 4 or 5. My dad showed it to me. I was young and it was on TV and I think my mom was pretty frustrated that my dad showed me it. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Well, thank you, Father McCarty. We really,
Yeah.
really appreciate it. So, again, watching it with your father for the first time, and we all have those people that we watched horror with that got us started in the genre, and how special that makes it to us because
Mm,
doing it with family and being a part of that is one of the best experiences about being a young horror fan to me was
yeah.
watching these things with my grandma and my mom. So we know Jaws to this day very effective. Do you remember which scene it was that impacted you the most?
Yes, and I didn't know until recently that a lot of people feel the same way about this. But there is a shot, and I believe it's one of the first attack scenes. And it's, oh my God, the kid has a name I can't remember, but it's this wide shot. The shark, of course, approaches, and it's this wide shot from the beach. And you watch his floaty flip over, and you see like this. It is the most I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. It is the most haunting image I've ever seen. And I watched a video essay of someone trying to figure out, is this a shark fin? Like, what am I looking at? And I turned it off because I was like, the mystery of that shot,
Yeah.
it frightens me so much. And I remember that freaking me out so much. But also like there's of course this, I think the first like full body shark moment that you see, it's like from above the water, and you see that it just come at the guy in the rowboat. God, I wish I remember these names better, but you just see the mechanical shark for the first time, and it is so real looking. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable. But yeah.
Well, and I think that the happy accidents on set of Bruce the Shark malfunctioning and not working really made it more terrifying when you finally do get those moments, because
Yeah.
when you're not seeing the shark, your imagination is led to run wild. What's it
Yeah.
look like? What's it doing? And there's
Yes.
nothing scarier than what we can imagine. There's nothing you
Yep.
can put on the
Yep.
screen that's scarier than what's going on in this movie theater right here. So I, I,
Yeah.
I do totally agree with that as well. And when you have the Kittner boy, now I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you can go on Google, or I'll send it to you when we're done here.
Yeah.
They actually have a picture of Bruce with the boy, but the shark was malfunctioning so much they couldn't make it work. But they tried to film a whole scene of you actually seeing Bruce take the kid. And like I said, when we're done here, I'll send it to you. Or guys, if you're watching, you can Google it. It's a terrifying picture, and I love it to death. But
Oh
yeah, I
God.
wish we could have been able to have that in the film. But
I bet that would have been just as horrifying, but how funny that like this image of almost seeing nothing is so horrifying to me, you know?
right.
Crazy.
Right. And like I said, this movie still to this day, I put this up there because I talk about score a lot on the show. Because I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of a score and a soundtrack. And Psycho, Halloween, and Jaws. If you've never seen those movies, you still know the scores to those films because of how impactful they are throughout all of pop culture. So um, we know what scene affected you the most from Jaws. And, seeing the little boy get killed obviously is such an impactful scene. But another great thing about this movie is it has some of the greatest one-liners of all time. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
whether it's
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
or
Smile, you son of a...
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you have all these super impactful scenes and dialogues throughout the movie. But Jaws is a movie that I consider untouchable. But in Hollywood right now, remakes, requels, sequels, that's kind of all the rage. Is Jaws a movie you would like to see them try to remake today?
No, I no, we should there's way too much. There's too many variables about how that got made, what was involved, who was there, that like it would never be the same. You know what I mean? And I mean, we just look at those sequels. It would never be the same. Even Jaws 2 is like, it's all right. It's
See, I
kind
do
of the
like Jaws too,
same.
man. Like
I
I'm a sucker
enjoy
for
it.
Jaws too, man.
I think the ending with The Wire with Scheider is like awesome. Like I
Yeah.
think that to me was really iconic when I was growing up too. I was like, oh wait, that's really cool. That's a cool way to kill him. But yeah, but I just they
Oh, it's
can't
not
do
Jaws.
that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely not Jaws, but
It would just
it's
be a
not
shark movie.
Three or The Revenge either.
Yeah, right. No, you know what? I think I saw Jordan Peele's Nope, and I felt like that was the closest thing I had ever seen to how Jaws frightened me, but also how Jaws felt. It just had that Spielbergian look and like
Hmm.
set piece, like iconography and like the costumes. And so anyways, that was my refresh of Jaws, but I don't know. A lot of people are a little mixed on that film, but I think it's incredible. But yeah.
I'm with you. I absolutely love
I
Nope.
love
That fear of a foreign thing, like you said, with Jaws, even, that foreign
Yeah.
being in the ocean.
Yeah.
I've always felt like that's super scary because you're already scared of being in that foreign place or this foreign thing coming to you and then seeing the outcome of it. I thought that was
Yeah.
absolutely great.
Absolutely.
And so, usually at this point of the show, my buddy Ghostface shows up and he asks you a question. But right now, they just announced they're going to be doing a Scary Movie 6. So he's out petitioning against that because he doesn't want them making it. It makes him look like a fool. So he asked me to ask you. So, Mason, what is your favorite scary movie? What's your favorite horror movie of all time?
I gotta say, I go back and forth between The Exorcist or The Thing. But I will say right now, it's probably The Exorcist.
And the thing is, like, both of those movies are so iconic in their own way. The
Mm.
Exorcist is still hailed to this day as the scariest movie of all time, you know. And The Thing to me is the greatest practical effect movie of all time. You watch The
Yes.
Thing now, and it still holds up 40 years later. Um, it's just, and the score is great, the acting is great, the seclusion of everything is so good. Like, it's hard to not say. And not only is it one of the best horror movies, it's, in my opinion, one of the best remakes of all time.
Of course. Wait, what was I knew this.
Yeah,
The Thing. I was thinking The Exorcist. Of
yeah.
course, like that's what's insane is I told my dad that recently and he had no idea. I was like, yeah, The Thing's a remake of
The
what was
Thing
that?
from Outer Space.
It was yeah, it's just like it has become such its own thing that like it's so impressive that you wouldn't even think about what it was prior to that. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
synonymous with John Carpenter.
Well, and what I love about it is John Carpenter kind of predicted this because if you watch Halloween 1978, the
Yeah.
kids are, after trick or treating, they're watching TV and they're watching The Thing from Outer Space.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that's just like, you go back and watch it now and you're like, John Carpenter, you sneaky son of a gun. Like,
Dude, absolutely. I gotta share this with you. Me and one of my best buddies, Hunter, we both love The Thing, and we were just talking recently that we were like, I am trying to see the people's point of view when this movie first came out. It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense. I can't even. The cinematography is gorgeous. The acting is perfect. Everyone is amazing, and the score is incredible. The atmosphere, the effects. I'm just like, what did people miss when this came
right,
out? And it hurts my feelings that the outcome was the outcome. But here we are, and
right.
I hope that they're receiving their flowers 10
And
times.
and that's the thing. I think the same way I feel about The Thing is the same way I feel about, like, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Like,
Mhm.
it's that Back to the Future thing. Like, you guys aren't gonna get it, but your kids are
Ah,
gonna love it. You know what I mean?
yes.
Like, it went over the heads at the time, man, because it was so ahead of its time with how the practical effects were. And at that time, it was
Yeah.
still all about the slasher. So
Yes.
people were looking for that slasher terrify. They're thinking John Carpenter, they're thinking Halloween, and then they go and see this super intelligent, well-made film, and they're like, "What? I want to see people getting gutted up and pinned to walls with a knife, unrealistically." So, I think that whenever I think of that, I always go back to the Future. Like, your
Dude,
kids are gonna love it, man.
that makes so much sense. So much sense.
So, Mason, I've had an amazing time, man, talking to you about Terrifier 3, your first horror movie and your favorite horror movie. But before I let you go, we always bounce back to the same question.
Ooh,
We're going to go back to Jaws. And what we're
okay.
going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. All we're doing is ranking Jaws on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So, zero skulls being not effective, five being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Mason, what would your ranking of Jaws be?
What was the 10 out of 10? Because that's I mean, truly,
Five skulls.
was it five skulls for Jaws, man? I can't think of another movie that scared me, but also made me fall in love with movies more than Jaws. And I haven't seen a movie more at a perfect time than that movie. I mean, God, that scuba diving scene when you see the body for this, one of the greatest jump scares that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm in love with that movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
five skulls for Mason. That was what that did for me. So
And I've talked about this on the show before, but I got to tell you again since you brought it up. The most genius thing about that ship scene, that was not in the original cut of the film. They had a screening of the film. People watched it, and Spielberg was like, "We're missing something." And anybody that's listening, feel free to research this. They went and they shot that scene in Spielberg's pool to just add something. So they
No.
watched the film. Spielberg was like, "We're missing something." They went back and just completely reshot that scene, put that scene in the film, and it's one of the most iconic scenes. Like you said, the best jump
Incredible.
scare when he grabs that shark tooth and
Yes.
then that head pops up.
Yes.
Best jump scare ever. And it was literally an afterthought. And that's why Steven Spielberg is Steven fucking Spielberg. Is because
Yes,
of stuff
dude.
like that, man.
Yes, and even I'll throw one more of my favorite moments out to you. Is like I think when they're drunk in the cabin of the boat, we cut to this wide shot and we just sit there for a second. Then all of a sudden, bloop, the barrels come up. And I remember watching that as a kid. And not that I was some genius, but as we're sitting on that wide, I was like, what if the barrels came up? Because I think I was starting to get movies. You know what I mean? I was starting
Right.
to be like, wait, this is how it works. And when I saw that, I think that was another like really formative movie moment for me where I was like, I love filmmaking. You know, it was like
Yeah.
that's why Jaws is so special to me. And I'm so honored that like it scared me and it excited me. You know, it's like that's such a perfect combination.
Yeah.
It has stuck with me for sure.
And I couldn't agree with you more because when we have those kind of like light turning on moments,
Yeah.
we always remember where we were, what we were watching when these things
Yeah.
started to click for us. So I didn't say it at the beginning, guys, but I do have all of Mason's social media links down in the description. Yes, we're talking about how amazing he did in Terrifier 3. That's just the beginning. He's not done. So make sure you're following him on social media to stay up with every project that he's going to be coming out with here in the future. So, Mason, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you.
Heck yeah.
Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.